Hello, and welcome. In this one, we are going to be discussing exactly why, or why not, even given the worthless Appraiser class I'm actually the strongest, is going to be worth your time this winter 2025 anime season or not. And of course, in the fashion of this video series, it will happen in the course of 5 minutes or less. Because of course, respecting your time is something I do most of the time try to do. With that being said, what do I think of this anime? So far I have watched, I think, 8 episodes of 9 that are released so far. And I have to be honest, after watching the first 3, I didn't really want to watch more. And even after having watched more, I'm not really enriched for it. Now, this is a power fantasy, as is very clear to tell based on the title and everything else about the anime. And if you're a lover of power fantasy anime like myself, then you thought, okay, maybe this could be okay. But very quickly, once you get into this anime, you realize and start to see many flaws. The biggest of which I have observed throughout the first handful of episodes, has to be that this show treats its story, its narrative, its character development, or its attempt to do them, as a checklist rather than an actual thing to do. They want to have A and B and C happen, like when it goes into the Adventurer Guild for the first time in forever and has this sort of negative thing happen there before suddenly everything turning around and everyone being impressed by him, and that happening in, 5 seconds flat. That being a very clear example of, okay, the writers wanted A to be a thing, and then B to be a thing, and then C to be a thing, to have this sort of start, middle, and end of this, let's say, narrative or character development. But since it's treated as nothing more than a checklist, it feels like nothing more than a checklist too. It doesn't make you feel connected to the character, it doesn't make you feel like something has actually happened here, or a narrative has been drawn up, or a character has grown in any way whatsoever. It feels slapped on and fake, which is obviously not a good thing at all. Outside of simply not treating the story as an actual story you have to tell over time, and rushing everything, and treating it as a checklist, this show also doesn't really have any interesting characters. The waifus are acceptable enough, but they're not interesting. The guardians, which are the other main side characters, aren't really interesting at all. They have very one-dimensional personalities, as do the waifus. Our main character, even while they try to have a big sort of character development arc happen with him from the start of Season 1 till the point we're at now, almost at the end of Season 1, you don't connect with him at all, because none of his developments seem organic, none of them seem to actually happen. You're just told they happen, so you can't really feel at one with him or connect with him at all, which makes you just very distanced to our main character and doesn't really make you like him at all either. He's just a very bland, cardboard main protagonist in a power fantasy universe that you really just don't care about at all, which is obviously a very, very horrible thing to have happen in a show like this. The third biggest issue for me with this show is simply that they try to take themselves too seriously when clearly they have no ability whatsoever to do so in terms of writing, storytelling, or animation. So in that case, if they would have just gone super silly, as they clearly want to most of the time, and just dropped any pretense of having a serious story or characters or anything, just gone, let's say, maybe more ecchi, at the same time as being even more sort of silly and fun, this show could have been somewhat more enjoyable. But because they don't do that, or aren't able to do that, it ends up being this very weird mash that I don't think most anyone can really enjoy. It's very generic slop at this stage, and the show feels extremely, extremely bland. And because they try to cut corners all the time, especially in terms of their so-called character developments and narrative and story, it feels extremely difficult to become invested in this show basically ever at any point. And even if you just want something simple and fun to watch and you don't really care about its story, and you just want to enjoy a silly, fun power fantasy, because this show does spend way too much time trying to be serious and having these quote-unquote character developments and narratives happen throughout episodes, it just feels, well, cringe, for the lack of a better word, and it feels fake, and it doesn't draw you in whatsoever, and you end up just begging the animes, like, please, stop trying to tell a serious story, just be super over the top and fun and have some ecchi or something, and then let me just turn my brain off and enjoy this to whatever extent I can. But in the end, this show clearly can't. Don't really know if this show doesn't know what it wants to be or not, but whatever it tries to be, or is trying to be at this time, it is failing at quite terribly in most departments, I would have to say. That being said, I would have to say that no, even given the worthless Appraiser class actually the strongest, is, at least to me, definitely not worth your time this anime season. If you're an absolute addict to power fantasies, like myself, then you can try watching the first, let's say, 2 episodes. But if you don't like it at that point, just stop watching because it's not going to get any better. It's arguably going to get worse. That being said, hope you enjoyed this very quick, hopefully valuable and informative video on this anime. Hope you got something out of it. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe, and check out the Patreon in the description below if you want to be extra supportive. Do appreciate any support you choose to give, and I will see you all next time, so keep watching anime and have a good day. Bye-bye.